Welcome to Highlighted, a Life Church Midweek Podcast. Here we're on a journey to look for ways to make our sermons more practical in our everyday lives, and we want to inspire you to live out your faith every single day, not just on Sundays. In each episode, we highlight our sermons and our ministries to see how God is working in our church and through our community. And as always, I'm sitting here with the greatest pastor in the world.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Who kicked down a veil on Sunday. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you didn't specifically watch Sunday, you really got to go back and watch Sunday. You can listen, and that's usually the same, but maybe not for this past Sunday. Maybe you got to, at least just for one section, you got to put it on the video.
So many memes with, I believe it's Jack Nicholson peeking out of a curtain on Sunday. Like, everybody showed it to me, sent it to me, which was really funny. And then when I pushed it over, like, totally not something I was planning on doing, just felt right in the moment. And so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so again, if you didn't go back and listen to the Sunday sermon or watch it, go back and watch it. But if you specifically didn't watch it, go back and
I'm surprised you didn't find the timestamp to tell them. So
I wish. So it's different on audio than video.
Oh, okay.
Just by a little bit.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kicked down the veil.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. We're in our series called The Veil. We're leading up to Easter, which, by the way, is just 2 Sundays away.
Sundays. That's crazy.
Which is crazy. And we have Easter Fest this weekend. So I feel like the entirety of the last 2 months has been, it's coming. And then now it's here. So all that to say, if you want to come and serve at Easter Fest, there's still a place for you to serve at Easter Fest, even if you didn't sign up, even if you didn't come to our team night for it. But also, we're stuffing eggs tonight.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this the day that this is only valid if you're the first group of people watching this, the day it comes out. Tonight at 6:30 during midweek, we will be stuffing and filling eggs with candy. And I may or may not be sneaking a few candies off to the side and filling.
I know you love Reese cups.
I do not, so that's amazing. And here's the thing, and not to interrupt our flow, and we're going to go in this episode, but I feel like you said that, knowing that I don't, knowing that someone watching this is probably going to get me Reese cups, and I'm going to have no other choice
to
give them to you. So don't be fooled.
He does not like Reese cups.
By Pastor's smooth words.
Like peanut butter.
Yeah, I like
welcome.
peanut butter, and I like chocolate.
Right.
I do not like them
Something
together.
about them being together.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Like lemon and chicken. They just don't belong together.
It's like the presence of God and a veil covering it.
Oh, good. That was good.
Belong
man.
together. Yeah,
good
well, I had to get us because I took us off.
Good way to get us back on track. You blame me for that?
Well, you're the one who offered.
That was not
that I love.
my fault.
Well, I was talking about what we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
At 6:30. So just a reminder.
Steal candy, which
that's true.
Yeah.
And then I was going to repent for stealing. I wasn't just going to leave it there. But to get back to the veil, we've been in this series leading up to Easter, right? And it's crazy because I feel like usually when we do something that's like something is leading up to something big, we don't know the ending. We don't know the outcome, and we haven't lived in it. But whereas first we were talking about separation from God's presence, like we haven't experienced that. So it's like almost this backwards thing of like we're experiencing stuff that we never personally got to experience, to have a greater appreciation and understanding for what we do get to walk in now. So again, I love this series. I love just learning about the different things that the Israelites had to do to have the presence of God in their lives, which is incredible sentence to say, because there's nothing that we have to do to have the presence of God in our life. So this series has definitely challenged me to just be a little more grateful and aware that the presence of God is here and it's free, and I don't have to go bathe in the waters of Mandalore. Sorry, that's the Mandalorian.
Well,
but last week, that's all I could think about. We're talking about
cleansing,
and then the priests need to be cleansed, the place need to be cleansed, and then even after all of that, like they had an extra animal that they just had to get rid of. But all I could think about with the cleansing part was just Mandalorian season 3, and he's got to go to like the ruins in this like destroyed planet. So sorry, not to get us off topic again.
Yeah,
but
I feel like we're going to live there today. It's okay. So yeah, Sunday we talked about. It's funny because this series has sort of shifted from the beginning of when we started talking about it a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. And the last couple of weeks, it's shifted away from the veil itself and the separation that the veil had, and has shifted into what people had to do to be in the presence of God, like you said. And for us, it's not God that has put the veil up; it's us. It's us that's got. Jesus tore it, right? That's what we're going to talk about that within the next couple of weeks, and what that really means, and what that looks like, and how that opened up. And we've hinted to that through the entire series, but it's so much more than even what we've talked about. And so, one of the things that happens though is that when we separate ourselves from God, when we put a veil up, when we place something between us and God, we begin to substitute God in our lives with other things. So where the place that God should be, we put our family. The place that God, and family's a good thing, right? The problem with this is that most of the time this happens with good things. And so there's an argument that like, well, yeah, but shouldn't I love my family? Well, it's not about loving your family. To love your family well, you have to love God well, right? Now you might say, well, what about people who love their family but don't know God? Well, that's incredible that they love their family, but they could love their family that much more, right? And so God has to be first. This is about priorities. This Sunday was about where are your priorities, because if you put the veil up, you're going to substitute God, and eventually you're going to fully stray away from Him the more you have Him substituted. So you find yourself substituting Him with your work, and it becomes easier not to come to church on Sunday, right? I've had a couple conversations in the last few weeks with people who just, I'm so busy, I just can't make it every Sunday, and I get that, I understand that. I'm not, but my challenge to them is, do you make it the Sundays you can? And usually that's a no. I said this on Sunday, I'm okay with you owning a boat, but if every Sunday that it's nice, you decide the boat is more important than the church, you're missing an integral piece of your faith. And you might say, well, Pastor, I can be saved and not go to church. And while I tend to think that is, you're not thinking logically when you think of that, because why wouldn't you want to be around people in like faith and in like mind? And so the veil becomes something that separates us, and eventually that separation moves us into substitution, which moves us into straying from God altogether. And so it's a real challenge for us because it's so subtle, right? I said this: the drift can be subtle, but the actual separation is massive, because we begin by simply saying, "Okay, I'm gonna place this veil because there's an area in my life I just need to deal with, and God doesn't have anything to say about it, my workplace or whatever." And then we eventually, that throne in our heart, right? Because that's what happens here. The mercy seat of our heart, where the presence of God should dwell, gets driven out of our temple. And it's not Him leaving, right? In the sense that He's just like, okay, I'm done with you guys, I'm out. It's us pushing Him and forcing Him out. That's what we saw on Sunday. So what eventually happens to the people is they start worshiping other gods. They do it in the temple. They worship Baal in God's temple. And we see a picture of what happened right before the exile, that God, His presence just leaves the temple, and they sort of took for granted that the presence was always going to be there. And you hinted around this earlier, that many times we take for granted that the presence of God is going to be active and moving in our lives, and that's what He wants. But when you veil it, okay, it's going to be veiled.
Yeah, and you're talking about there's different things, and we had the blackout curtains were our veil in our illustration, but sometimes we put up those little kind of see-through curtains that they still let the light in, but you can't see out of them,
right?
And you don't get a clear picture. And so I know it's easy to think like, oh, I'm not putting up a veil because I still have this thing with God. I'm still walking with Him, but every Tuesday night when this happens, then maybe I'm closing it just a little bit more, or I'm not letting the light through like I need to be, or whatever situation that you might find yourself in. And it's easy to be like, it's either this or this, and it's definitely not, full blackout curtains all the way closed.
Yeah.
So I'm good. But it's really easy, like you said, it's a gradual thing that just kind of slips, and you do one thing that leads to another thing, and you miss one Sunday that leads to now I'm not in church anymore. And you talked about this on Sunday. You're talking about in 2020 when the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
And how it created a shift in people, that routines that they had before then, they all of a sudden stopped. And some people didn't build back those routines. And you were specifically talking about with church and coming to church, but also like there's so many things that happen in our life that cause sudden stops.
Yeah.
And maybe you're still going to church, but because of this thing that happened at work or this thing that happened in your family, maybe you stopped reading your word. Maybe you stopped getting in the word, but it's okay, Pastor, because I'm still going to church every Sunday. Or maybe vice versa. Maybe I stopped going to church every Sunday, but it's okay because I'm still getting in my word. Or maybe your prayer life has taken a hit because of something in your life. So there's always a barrier to something, and there's always something that's going to get in the way. But I think the hard thing, and it's easy to say it, it's harder to do it, is to choose faith and to say, even when, work is tough and I'm overworked, I need to make time to get in God's word, because this is going to sustain me through the hard thing. This is what's going to get me through the difficult thing, rather than feeling like I need to take care of this so I can get into this.
Yeah, the problem is when you give up, so when you start substituting, you give up space. We had House of Prayer on Sunday night, which was an incredible time. But one of the things towards the end, Pastor Sarah came up and I believe it was Pastor Sarah talked about when you're on the fence between the enemy's yard and God's yard, right? When you're on that fence, you don't usually realize that the fence belongs to the enemy, and so you're on his turf, just being on the fence, and so that I thought that was profound and an important piece of what we're talking about here. It doesn't matter if the veil's see-through; it's still it's still an obstruction, and any obstruction is a problem, right? It's the same thing with Adam and Eve. Go all the way back, right? Adam and Eve. Adam hid, behind some bushes because he didn't want God to see him in his shame. And so then, but even then, he comes out and he's wearing the leaves, right? He steps out from the bush, but the bush steps out with him. Okay, and God just kind of, I can just imagine that moment. And again, I'm not saying I have any idea what God thinks, but I could just imagine that moment, because, I mean, it's like my kids when they were little saying they didn't eat the cookie, but there's chocolate all around their mouth, and I'm just thinking, okay, how we got to deal with this, and also we're going to love them in the process. And so we called it the invisible veil on that first one, but the reality is that the killing of the animal, the skinning of the animal, the making of clothes became a veil in and of itself that was wrapped around man. And God, to step closer to man, said, okay, the veil has to be here. And so we just, now that Jesus has torn it down, continue to put that thing up. It's so difficult, because everything you're talking about, everything you just hit on, is about substituting the presence of God in our lives. And it's so subtle that we don't even realize it. Jesus talks about it being so subtle that there are going to be people who say, when he comes back, Lord, Lord, right? They're going to say, I knew you. And he's going to say, yeah, no, I didn't know you. You never allowed me to know you. You kept the veil up. I tore the physical veil so you could know me. You erected another veil, and you could see through it at times, but it still wasn't my presence fully in your life. I didn't know you. And so we flip the script on the veil and we say, God, originally it was in place to protect us. Originally it was in place because of what we did. We kind of flip the script on it now that it's been torn and say, okay, God, we're going to put it back up because there are things that we want off limits to you, right? It's kind of like when a bunch of people are coming to your house and you take one bedroom and you just pile everything in one bedroom and you hope nobody asks to spend the night because your guest bedroom is full of junk. Excuse me, that's what it is. And so we do that within our lives instead of just cleaning it up, instead of just taking it to Him, opening the door and saying, okay, here's who I really am. I'm a mess. Let me not put this veil up. And the number of times that I've done that, like actually done that in my house when people were coming, is crazy. But when I look at it from my spiritual life, I realize that I do it to God all the time. Right? He wants me to engage in worship, and He's trying to do something in my life on Sunday, but all I can think about is what's coming on Monday, or what my spouse said to me on the way, or how my kids have been acting, or what have you. And then I don't enter into His presence. And that's what this is all about, the concept that we don't have to live in separation. We make a conscious choice to live in separation.
Yeah, and just like you hit on, it's just one of those subtle things that it's easy to feel like we can hide this thing from God, just like Adam in the garden. And you're talking about how kind of silly that is. Like he's like a toddler who just ate a cookie. But it really is, because he's hiding in a bush somewhere, and God knows where he is. And
Yeah.
he's like, where are you?
I always have
it's like
this
a bad
picture-
game of hide and seek.
Right. I always have this picture of Dora like standing in the front, like at the screen, talking to the kids, saying, "Do you see Swiper?" And it's like Swiper's standing back.
He's just
there,
like
you can
right
see
on
him,
the
just right
screen.
out there. I'm like, yes, of course I see Swiper. I've got eyes.
Yeah.
And so that's
So he's
kind of
just
done.
like, Adam, where are you? And then Adam's like, do I say something?
Right.
Like he's probably whispering to Eve, like, he doesn't know. Or
Yeah.
he doesn't. God, we're here in the bush. And God's like, Adam, why are you in the bush? Fully knowing well why.
Yeah.
We were afraid because we're naked. And God's like, who taught you that?
Right.
Like, how do you know that you're naked? And I imagine, and again, this is the PE version. Yeah, we always get the JC view.
Yeah, I like
this
it.
This is my mind and how it works. And I imagine Adam's probably scrambling, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have just said we were playing hide and seek or something. What do I do? I'm just gonna step out. And he grabs the bush and then he steps
Just
out.
holding it.
He's like, I wasn't naked. Well, who said that? And then I imagine God's like, Adam, why are you holding the
What are you doing that for, Adam?
So, but in the same way, we like you said, we do the same thing with God, where we pretend like He doesn't know everything about us already, and we pretend like He's not already in our life and He doesn't know the situations we're dealing with. And so when we take all of that stuff and we shove it in a room and we just say, we're not going to deal with this today.
Yeah.
But our mind is there, right? Our heart's
Right.
there. And that's all we can think on. That's all we're dwelling on. And we never have a chance to step into the place where transformation will actually happen.
Yeah.
We'll never step into the place where we can walk through these difficult situations because we've been empowered by the Spirit of God. And it's easy to think, well, my problem's too small for God to deal with. Like, God's a big God.
Right.
You know, He's taken down giants. He's split seas. He's brought people groups out of exile. Like, He's done so many things. He raised His Son from the dead. Like, crazy things that we talk about and we read about in Scripture. And so when I think, like, man, God doesn't care about how my Aunt Shirley made me mad and now I'm having an argument with her and
Right.
I don't know if I can go to Thanksgiving this year. And it's like, that's too small for God. But in reality, like, God cares about the smallest things, the smallest details. He's a God of details. And I just think it's so silly of us to pretend like we know what God cares about sometimes. Right. And it's like we're playing God for our situation because we've decided that God doesn't care about my relationship with this person. God doesn't care about my workplace environment. God doesn't care about, this medical issue that I'm dealing with. When in reality, He cares so deeply about, like Scripture says, He knows the hair on our head.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that's not something we're keeping up with, but we do know, hey, my neighbor down the street, he just got diagnosed with cancer, but I don't really know him. So I'm kind of afraid to go introduce myself and pray for him. But I feel like I should. And we find ourselves in this place of like, God, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to put this in this closet and shut the door, and I'm not going to deal with it. And then next thing you know, we haven't dealt with it. We don't really know how we're going to react in situations like that. And then our parent is diagnosed with the same type of cancer. And now it's like, okay, now I feel bad because I never actually prayed for this guy.
Right.
And I could have had a relationship there and maybe learned some things about what he went through, and maybe that could help my situation now. And now you're just super in your head about it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're finding all these distractions and all these reasons. And there's so many bills now. There's so many things to take care of now. There's so many things. And then we find ourselves not just closing the door, but locking it and walking further and further away from the place where we've stuffed all of our junk. When in reality, God, he wants to kick down the veil like you did on Sunday. There's another reminder. If you didn't watch Sunday, I'm begging you, go back and watch it. It's the second half of the sermon, maybe like the last 15 minutes. Ish. I guess you could tell if the veil is still up there when you're speaking. He hasn't knocked it down yet. But no, there's so many different avenues in which we do this, and sometimes it's so like sneakily done, and it's just a simple, well, I'm just going to close the door while the company's here. And I'll take care of this tomorrow. I'll take care of this later tonight. I'll put this stuff back where it needs to belong. And in reality, God is asking us to partner with him.
Yeah.
And to walk with him. And part of that partnership is us releasing those things to him.
Yeah.
And not holding on so tightly to the way we've lived our lives, the way we've chosen to do things, and hide the things we've hidden from him. Because it's just like Adam in the garden, like God already knows.
Right.
God already knows what you're hiding from him. God already knows how you're feeling about whatever situation you're in. So to hide it from him is like a toddler who stole a cookie, who has crumbs all over their face. And they're like, no, I didn't take the cookie. Like,
yeah, sure.
So I just want to challenge you and encourage you that it's easy to feel like we're hiding, and we're good at hiding because we know the right things to say. We know the right things to do. We know the faces to put on. And it might work with your family members. It might work with your spouse. It might work with your mom or dad. It might work with your pastor. It might work with, insert blank here, but it's not going to work with God.
Right.
So I would just challenge you, if you find yourself in that place, in that secretive place, to get into the secret place. And that's cheesy and it's corny.
It's good though.
But it's so easy to build up a secret double life. It's much harder to build that up when we're living in the secret place and we're living in the presence of God, because he's going to challenge us and he's going to allow us to let go of some things we've held on tightly to.
It's good. That's good. I like it. I actually, even if it's cheesy, I think it's good. Yeah, if you can't live in the secretive place and the secret place at the same time. That's a sermon, maybe a series. Right there, because many of us try.
I'll get royalties every week.
You could just develop it and preach it yourself.
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, absolutely, and that's probably, if you took anything away from this, and there's been a lot of good stuff in here in this, but that's the message of what's happening here. They got to the point where they were doing things in secret, and then it just became out in the open, right in the middle of God's house, worshiping other gods. And we can find ourselves there because we come to the place where we think it doesn't matter what we do anymore. But that's not the reality. And if we stay in the secret place, right, and if you don't know what that means, we're talking about, with God, you and God, through prayer, through Scripture, through worship, through all the different things, the disciplines that we do, we're in our secret place with Him. And we find ourselves not able to be in the secretive place because we're sharing everything with him, even though he already knows, right? He didn't ask Adam because he didn't know, right? He asked Adam where he was because he needed Adam to acknowledge what had happened. And so Adam was trying to be secretive, and the reality was God was inviting him into the secret place. It's good, man. That was the key point for today. I like it.
Awesome. Oh, well, and then now my new key point is, right, there's so much more that we could have talked about today, and so much more that's happening in this series. So it's a 6-week series. We haven't had weeks 5 and 6 yet. So There's only 4 weeks right now. And I'm going to challenge you, if you have missed one, missed two, missed all of them, go back and watch them in order, and then get ready for the next two, because it's building to something so much bigger. It's something that we experience every single day, and it's not something that we talk about every single day, right? I should live my life and be like, hey, I'm living in the presence of God, and it's here, it's free, it's for everyone, but we don't do that. So I would challenge you, go back, watch the last 4 sermons in preparation for this week. Is Palm Sunday. That's exciting. But then also, even more exciting than Palm Sunday, it's Easter Sunday. Yeah. And Easter Sunday is also a great time, right, to invite someone people to church, because people are going to be more receptive to that. Maybe they don't want anything to do with church all other 364 days of the year, but Easter Sunday, I used to go to church with my grandma on Easter Sunday. I'll go with you. I'll
go.
So I would encourage you. We have invite cards in the lobby. We have Easter Fest coming up this weekend. Find a way to just invite people, and not just to a service, but into your life, right? Let them see what it looks like for someone to walk with God. Let them see what it looks like for someone to love God and love people, and not pick one or choose one.
What you're doing is inviting them into the presence of God.
Yeah.
That's the heart of all this, right? Is that we understand we live in the presence, we carry the presence, and by virtue of that, people we are around are in the presence of God. The only thing that changes people, okay, you can be the most eloquent speaker, and it's not going to change someone's heart, but the presence of God can radically change people, and that's what we want to see. And so that's what this whole series has really been about. And so it comes back to this idea: get people into your life so they can be in the presence of God.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more time, I'm going to just spit off everything happening. Tonight, we're stuffing eggs. So if you're watching this, the day comes out, 6:30, come stuff eggs with us, steal some candy with us. Maybe not. I don't condone that, but I might do it. So if you catch me doing it tonight, you didn't see anything. And then number 2, we have Easter Fest this weekend at 10 a.m. Doors open at 9:30. If you want to serve, please be here at 8 a.m. If you're already serving, you know that. And if you're still thinking about like, oh, I didn't sign up, I didn't do it's okay. Like, there's a place for you to serve. So come out and serve at that. Invite people to that. Come take part in that. That's this Saturday, March 28th at 10 a.m. And then next Sunday, we're celebrating Easter Sunday together. And we also have Good Friday service. Yeah. 7 p.m. We have Via Dolorosa. So maybe hide from our students, because they're going to be, hopefully our students are going to be coming and asking to raise money for Speed the Light during that. So there's so much happening on these next couple weeks leading up to Easter, and we're so excited about what God is doing. Like I say every episode, in our church and through our community. And as always, we love you, and we can't wait to see you again soon.